Hi, welcome back. Collectors across the UK, USA, Canada, Europe and Australia are hunting for these valuable old British halfpenny coins, and you might own one. First up, 1953 halfpenny, Queen Elizabeth II coronation. Let's go back to the year 1953, the dawn of a new era in British history. The nation had just laid to rest a war-weary but steadfast king, George VI, and in his place rose a young monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. In celebration of her coronation, the Royal Mint issued a series of coins featuring her youthful portrait for the very first time. Among these coins, the 1953 halfpenny holds a special place. This was not just a coin, it was a statement of continuity, of tradition being passed on. Measuring just 25.5 mm in diameter and made of bronze, the coin carried the unmistakable design of the Golden Hind, the famous ship of Sir Francis Drake, proudly engraved on its reverse. The obverse was even more historic. It was the first time the public would see the young Queen Elizabeth II on British coinage. Facing right, following tradition. Designed by Mary Gillick, the portrait is lauded for its elegant simplicity and regal poise. The 1953 halfpenny wasn't particularly rare in terms of mintage. Over 31 million were struck, but it has become a favorite among collectors for one major reason: symbolism. This coin was issued in the coronation year of a queen who would go on to reign for more than 70 years. That historical context makes it more than metal, it becomes a living piece of the past. Most examples in circulation today show heavy wear, a testament to how widely it was used during its time. But collectors prize uncirculated and proof versions, particularly those found in the official 1953 coronation proof sets. These coins, with their rich bronze tone and crisp detail, can fetch anywhere from £15,000 to over £20,000, depending on condition and market demand. For collectors seeking a true milestone coin, one that marks the beginning of the Second Elizabethan Age, the 1953 halfpenny is an absolute must-have. Number 2. 1954 halfpenny. While it may not carry the high-profile coronation status of its predecessor, the 1954 halfpenny holds a distinct appeal all its own. Why? Because it represents the first, normal, year of Queen Elizabeth II's reign. The coronation celebrations had passed. The press excitement had quieted, and the British public was settling into a new royal era. And with that came this small but mighty coin. The 1954 halfpenny retained all the beloved design elements from the year before, the Golden Hind on the reverse, symbolizing maritime strength and exploration, and the elegant right-facing bust of the Queen on the obverse, still radiating that youthful dignity in Mary Gillick's graceful engraving. Yet despite the similar appearance, the 1954 halfpenny is much scarcer in high grade than many collectors realize. Approximately 20.4 million of these coins were minted, lower than the year before, and most went into heavy circulation. Finding one in brilliant uncirculated or mint state condition today can be quite the challenge. These coins were tossed into pockets, handed over in shops and spent in street markets, gradually losing their fine details over the years. That's why today, a top-grade 1954 halfpenny is often valued higher than a 1953, simply because of its condition scarcity. Collectors particularly watch for specimens with sharp detail around the ships, rigging on the reverse, and strong lines in the Queen's hair and diadem. In proof-like state or high grade, this coin can fetch £18,000 to £22,000 depending on market trends and eye appeal. It may not have the pomp of the coronation year, but it's a quieter, more elusive treasure, and one every serious halfpenny enthusiast seeks to add to their collection. Number 3. 1955 halfpenny. A coin that at first glance may seem common, but as we dive into its history, production and collector value, it becomes clear that it's anything but ordinary. Minted during the early years of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, the 1955 issue continued the established design, but with subtle refinements in strike quality that appeal to sharp-eyed numismatists. The golden hind on the reverse remains a bold reminder of Britain's seafaring legacy. And the obverse still features the young monarch in Gillick's famed effigy, a portrait that stood as a symbol of optimism and post-war renewal. In 1955, nearly 59 million half-pennies were struck, a significant number, but what makes this coin particularly desirable is the frequency with which it shows up in high-quality collections. The Royal Mint in the mid-1950s was refining its minting processes, and many of the 1955 half-pennies exhibit superior strikes when compared to earlier issues. This makes the coin ideal for grading and display, particularly in mid to high-grade condition. For the keen collector, spotting a well-struck 1955 half-penny with minimal wear, defined rigging on the golden hind, and sharp detail on the Queen's diadem is a real thrill. In the collector's market, circulated examples remain easy to find and are generally valued modestly, around £100 to £300, but in uncirculated or brilliant uncirculated condition, values can climb to £15,000, £25,000. Proof strikes from 1955 are quite rare, and if encountered, should be authenticated and preserved carefully, as they are premium items in any British coin collection. What truly elevates the 1955 halfpenny is its role as a touchstone, a coin from the early reign of a monarch who would go on to become one of the most iconic and enduring figures of the 20th and 21st centuries. It serves as a reminder of a nation in transition, emerging from post-war recovery and moving confidently into a new modern age under a new queen. Number 4. 1956 halfpenny. The year was 1956, and Britain was adjusting to the changes of a new post-war society. Rationing was over, the economy was growing, and everyday life was slowly stabilizing after the disruptions of the 1940s. Amid this national shift, the Royal Mint continued to quietly produce the coinage that would pass through the hands of millions of Britons each day. And among those coins, the 1956 halfpenny stands as a silent symbol of an evolving nation and a hidden treasure in the world of numismatics. The 1956 halfpenny doesn't appear extraordinary. It maintains the same design used since 1937, the proud image of the golden hind on the reverse, representing the strength and adventure of British naval history. On the obverse, Queen Elizabeth II's youthful effigy by Mary Gillick continues to shine, her uncrowned profile a symbol of both continuity and freshness. But what sets the 1956 halfpenny apart is its mintage figure, significantly lower than many of its surrounding years. Only about 6.6 million of these coins were struck, making it one of the lowest mintage years for Elizabeth II halfpennies. That fact alone elevates its desirability among collectors. While millions may sound like a large number, in the world of coinage, where production often reaches 30, 40, even 60 million per year, a mintage under 7 million is considered scarce, particularly for a circulating coin. And because these coins were used for everyday transactions, most 1956 halfpennies were worn down through years of handling, shopping and saving. That makes uncirculated examples incredibly appealing and much more valuable. In fine condition, the coin might fetch a few pounds, but in brilliant uncirculated or near-mint state, prices can rise dramatically, reaching £17,000, £23,000 or more, especially if the coin displays a sharp strike, rich bronze color and full detail in both the Queen's portrait and the golden hind. Whether you're a novice collector or a seasoned numismatist, the 1956 halfpenny is a piece worth hunting for, not because of what it says, but because of what it doesn't. It whispers history, scarcity, and value in a way that only truly rare coins can. Number 5. 1958 halfpenny. The year 1958 brought with it a quiet but steady continuation of Britain's coinage program. After a relatively low mintage in 1956 and a break in 1957, when no halfpennies were struck for general circulation, 1958 marked a full return to production. But unlike earlier coins, the 1958 halfpenny occupies a unique place in the series. It was common, yet surprisingly popular with collectors today. Why? Because it's a perfect example of a coin where condition matters more than mintage. The 1958 halfpenny, like its predecessors, features the beloved golden hind design on the reverse, and the uncrowned Queen Elizabeth II effigy on the obverse, still rendered beautifully by Mary Gillick. It was struck in bronze, measured 25.5 mm, and was part of the pre-decimal system, still widely in use across the UK. The coin's overall design hadn't changed in years, but there was a renewed sense of craftsmanship that shines through in many 1958 examples. This was a time when the Royal Mint was refining its minting standards. As a result, many 1958 halfpennies were struck with impressive clarity and boldness, a fact that makes this coin an ideal choice for those seeking brilliant uncirculated specimens. While the total mintage was large, about 47 million, the quality of many coins produced that year stood out. That's where collectors take notice. In average circulated condition, this coin may be worth very little, just pennies. But in high grades with sharp rigging on the ship's sails, clean fields around the Queen's portrait, and no blemishes or tone marks, it transforms from common to collectible. Mint state examples are often seen fetching £8,000 to £12,000, and particularly lustrous pieces can go even higher at auction or in collector sets. For newer collectors, the 1958 halfpenny is a great introduction to the art of coin grading, and for veterans, it offers a satisfying addition to a well-balanced halfpenny series. It's a coin that teaches an important lesson. Even the ordinary can become extraordinary under the right light. Number 6. 1960 halfpenny. By the time 1960 rolled around, the United Kingdom was standing at the edge of a major cultural and economic transformation. The post-war years were behind it. The economy was on the rise, and the nation was about to swing into the vibrant 1960s, a decade of music, fashion and innovation, and quietly, almost unnoticed, the Royal Mint was still producing coins that would pass through millions of hands. Among them, the 1960 halfpenny. This coin, though seen as common by many, has a special charm that only becomes clear when you study it up close. It retains the classic elements of the halfpenny series, the graceful young portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, still in Mary Gillick's distinctive style, and the iconic golden hind on the reverse, a nod to Britain's maritime greatness. But the 1960 halfpenny is more than a coin. It's a historical timestamp from the early modern age of Britain. Over 67 million of these coins were struck, making it one of the more heavily minted years in the series. That means it's easy to find in lower grades, worn down. Dull-colored examples are common in junk bins and bulk lots. But what makes the 1960 halfpenny stand out to collectors is the difficulty in finding well-preserved specimens. Because so many were circulated heavily, finding coins in mint state or proof-like condition is a rewarding challenge. When evaluating a 1960 halfpenny, look closely at the detail in the ship's rigging, the Queen's hairlines and the coin's edges. A well-struck, unblemished coin with original luster can be worth £5,000 to £10,000. Sometimes more if it's a perfect example. This coin also occasionally shows die clashes or minor striking anomalies, which some era collectors find fascinating, though these varieties are rare and must be authenticated. Beyond value, this coin marks the tail end of the classic halfpenny era. Decimalization was on the horizon, and soon these coins would vanish from everyday life. But today, for collectors and historians alike, the 1960 halfpenny remains a nostalgic link to a country on the brink of immense social and cultural change. Number 7. 1961 halfpenny. The 1961 halfpenny represents one of the last consistent issues of a denomination that had served the British people for centuries. By this point in time, the halfpenny had become a familiar feature of everyday life, slipping through the hands of bus conductors, shopkeepers, schoolchildren, and pensioners across the nation. But behind its ordinary appearance lies a rich tapestry of history, culture, and numismatic importance. With a mintage of around 61 million. The 1961 halfpenny was by no means rare, but its interest lies not in its scarcity, but in its symbolism. It stood as a marker of Britain on the brink of sweeping change. Society was evolving rapidly, technology, fashion, music, and politics were all shifting. And through it all, this humble coin carried on its back the symbols of tradition, the golden hind on one side and the uncrowned Queen Elizabeth II on the other. In Mary Gillick's youthful and optimistic portrait, collectors today often seek out this coin not because of its financial value, but because of its emotional one. It's a piece of pre-decimal Britain, a world before metric conversion, before pounds and pence were reimagined. It tells the story of a stable currency system that had stood since the Tudor age, slowly giving way to modernization. In circulated condition, the 1961 halfpenny is easy to acquire and may be worth only pence. But in higher grades, especially brilliant uncirculated or near-mint state, its worth increases. Coins with full detail, crisp rigging on the ship, a flawless portrait, and original mint luster can sell for £7,000 to £15,000 and make excellent display pieces in any collection. For many, the 1961 issue is one of the last to truly represent the golden era of British coin design. It is a steady, enduring coin, like the monarchy it portrayed, and a silent witness to a nation quietly evolving. Number 8. 1965 halfpenny. 1965, a year that marked the height of the swinging 60s. London was buzzing with music, fashion, youth culture, and a new global presence, while society was dancing to the Beatles and embracing modernity. The British halfpenny continued its quiet journey through daily life, unchanged, yet still ever present in the hands of the people. The 1965 halfpenny, with a mintage of over 63 million, was not meant to be rare. It was a coin for the masses. But it holds a special place in the hearts of collectors because it was one of the final issues before the denomination's retirement. It represented the slow farewell of a coin that had been used in Britain, in some form, for nearly 800 years. The coin's design, as always, features the golden hind, majestic and historically rich, on its reverse, and Queen Elizabeth II's Gillick portrait on the obverse. By now, the design had become iconic. And yet, for those who examine the 1965 halfpenny closely, there's something bittersweet in its presence. It speaks of loyalty to tradition, even as the world began to demand change. From a numismatic standpoint, 1965 halfpennies are plentiful in worn condition. But that doesn't diminish their value in a curated collection. High-grade versions, especially uncirculated specimens, continue to command modest but respectable values, £3,000 to £5,000, depending on luster, strike, and color. For new collectors, it's often a perfect first coin, accessible, historic, and beautiful, and for seasoned numismatists, it's an essential piece of the puzzle when assembling a complete set of Elizabeth II pre-decimal issues. The 1965 halfpenny may have been one of the last of its kind, but its charm is everlasting. Number 9. 1967 halfpenny, final circulated issue. The year 1967 marked the end of an era, not just for the halfpenny, but for British coinage as a whole. Decimalisation was on the horizon, and the familiar system of pounds, shillings, and pence was soon to be restructured into a new decimal format. It was in this context that the final circulated halfpenny was issued, closing the chapter on centuries of tradition with one last wave of copper brilliance. The 1967 halfpenny was the last official halfpenny minted for general circulation. Over 100 million were struck, a huge number that ensured the coin remained in use for a few more years before being fully withdrawn and demonetized in 1969. But despite its high mintage, this coin carries enormous historical significance. On its obverse, Queen Elizabeth II still wears the serene and youthful expression crafted by Mary Gillick. Now so familiar to millions, on the reverse. The Golden Hind sails one final time across Britain's coins, as if bidding farewell to its long voyage through the nation's economy. Though common in worn condition, the 1967 halfpenny remains popular among collectors for its symbolic finality. It's a last-of-its-kind issue, and such coins often carry sentimental and educational value far beyond their material worth. In brilliant, uncirculated condition, or in collector sets, the coin can fetch £20,000 to £25,000, especially if stored in excellent condition without signs of tone or corrosion. It may have been small in size, but the 1967 halfpenny holds a mighty place in British coin history, the last breath of an age-old denomination, and a proud farewell to a design that had graced the nation's pockets since the Victorian era. Number 10. 1952 halfpenny, last of George VI. Let's take a final step backward to the 1952 halfpenny, the very last of its line under King George VI. This was a year of deep significance for the United Kingdom. The country had just emerged from years of war and recovery. But in February of 1952, the nation was struck with a solemn loss. King George VI passed away, ending his reign and ushering in a new era with the ascension of his daughter, Elizabeth. The 1952 halfpenny is a powerful relic of that transitional moment. On its obverse sits the stoic, stately portrait of King George VI, designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget. His expression is composed and dignified, a reflection of the man who had led his people through the darkest days of World War II. The reverse continues to feature the Golden Hind, but this time it becomes a ship sailing away from the past, into a future that would soon see a young queen take the throne. Minted in a total of around 33.6 million. The 1952 halfpenny is not particularly rare in circulated grades, but its place in history as the final halfpenny bearing George VI's image gives it enduring collector appeal. It's the closing statement of a king's coinage legacy, and the last of a sovereign who never expected to rule, but who became one of Britain's most respected monarchs. In high-grade or uncirculated condition, the 1952 halfpenny can fetch £35,000 to £40,000, and examples in proof or mint sets are especially desirable. The coin serves as a powerful reminder of the emotional weight a simple piece of bronze can carry. It doesn't just represent value, it represents the end of an era, the beginning of another, and the constancy of a nation through times of change. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Britain's halfpenny legacy, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more rare coin stories. Got a favorite coin from today's video? Drop it in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching and happy collecting.